Hi there, it's Jonny Miller from Point Blank Online Music School, back once more to show you some cool tricks with Ableton Live 8 and sounds and samples from clickproduce.com. Tonight I'm putting together a little kind of bass music track. I wanted to get a little shuffling beat together and a bass line together and kind of create a little lead sound out of percussion. And I've just got hold of this really cool Loop Masters sound pack, Peak Locket World Percussion, and this is awesome. This is a really cool sound pack. It's huge, very big library, like a lot of the Loop Masters products. But in here we've got individual instruments, all different folders containing loops of all these single sounds, which are brilliant. And also rhythm set loops, so we've got different tempos, so different kind of flavors of percussion. And a lot of this stuff has all been recorded especially for this sound pack, and it's just endless. I mean, this is, once you've got this sample library, really that's it for percussion for your sample collection. It's all you really need. And the other thing I really like about it and using it with live is that it comes with a Rex file folder, which is the whole sound library but in Rex format. And this is very useful for working in Ableton, as it gives you the option to do the slice to MIDI technique, which is what I'm going to base this tutorial on. I'm going to use the slice to MIDI technique not just to change the pattern of the loop that I've chosen, but also to get really creative with the effects that come bundled with the slice to MIDI presets. So let's have a look at what I've got inside this set. I'm just going to hit play. This is the sort of basis of my track, really. A little 808 drum beat that I've used. 808 sounds inside Simpler, a little bass loop and a shaker loop, just to give my beat a bit of character. And what I want in this track is to just lay one of these percussion samples, the Pete Lockett percussion samples, over the top of the track and kind of have it as a lead element. I've chosen this one, the bongo loop. Now at the moment, this is just the original loop from the sample pack, and if I double click in there and look at the clip, this is the Rex file version of this loop. And when we have a Rex file, we have each individual hit of the percussion loop as a separate slice, and that's marked out by these little transient markers, these little triangles at the top of the clip along the timeline. So when I do the slice to MIDI technique on this clip, it's going to break up the loop into these predetermined slices. I don't need to do any work here. I don't need to tell live where these hits are, because the Rex file contains all that information. Now, if you've never used Slice to MIDI before, go back and have a look at some of the earlier videos that I did for ClickProduce a few months ago, and they're in older issues of DJ Weekly and on the ClickProduce YouTube page. And you'll find a Slice to MIDI video where I actually cut up some chords in an R&B track, and that will help explain a little bit about Slice to MIDI if you've never done it before in Ableton Live. But I'm going to use Slice to MIDI, one of the additional presets that you get inside Live, on this particular loop, because I want to add some effects and get creative with this loop. I'm not just going to use it just to clean up the timing, which I need to do as well, because you can see some of the percussion hits are a little bit off the nearest 16th. So I need to tighten up the timing of the loop, but also get a little bit creative with it. And that's what I'm going to use Slice to MIDI for. So I'm going to right click, go up to Slice to New MIDI track. And then we get this dialog box, the Slice to MIDI dialog box. So it's create one slice per Rex slice. That's how we work with Rex files in Live. And whereas before in the old video, the other video I did on Slice to MIDI, I just used the built-in preset. This time I'm going to click into this menu, and I've got all these extra little presets that I could work with. And these just add different types of effects to the rack that is created when we apply Slice to MIDI on a loop. So here we got one with delay and vocoder. The FM mangler, that loads all the slices into separate zones inside Sampler. I'm going to go down here and use Slicer Dicer. This is quite a good one for kind of explaining what these extra presets actually do. So I'm going to select that one, Slicer Dicer, and just hit OK. And Live's working there to create a rack for me with each slice as an individual Simpler device, with the slice region set up with the start and end markers. So slice 2, that's the next little hit of the loop. Slice 3, if I click on that, that's the third little hit on that percussion loop. So we've got 14 slices in here. Now, the preset, the Slicer Dicer preset that I selected, just tells Live to add some other little bits to this rack. And we've got two MIDI effects. We've got arpeggiator and note length. controlling the MIDI notes coming in. And then coming out, the audio coming out, we've got Redux, which adds a sort of bit crusher effect. Dynamic tube, that just adds a bit of warmth to the sound. And then gate, which can control the decay of the sounds, how tight they are, how clipped they are. So all these different parameters, you see some of these different parameters have little green spots on them. That shows that those parameters have been set up and controlled here on the macro controls. So we've got speed rate and pitch divisions. They control some of the parameters of arpeggiator. The bit distortion turns up the bit crusher effect from Redux. So let's play this loop. I'm just going to turn the original off. In fact, I'm actually going to get rid of the original. I don't need that Rex file anymore, because what I've got here is a MIDI clip that contains the loop just spanned across the different slices. And the first thing I'm going to do before I get creative with all the extra effects inside this rack is just highlight all, so select all, and then Command U to quantize. And that's just knocked all these slices onto the nearest 16th, and that's sorted out the timing. So now my loop is playing in perfect sync with my drums. So let's go to this rack and have a look at what some of these effects are doing within this slice to MIDI rack. And you can see all the slices are just playing one after the other. And that's just down to the way I've got them arranged in this clip. That's the original pattern of the loop. And actually, before I get into the effects, the first thing I'm going to do is just move some of these around and create a different loop. Make this loop my own. And this is a good way to do this. Just highlight a group of slices and just move them around and see what you get. Or even take some of the slices out. So now that slice to MIDI loop is completely different to the original pattern. I've kind of reworked it, and you know, the idea has evolved. And that's a good thing to do, kind of make the loop your own. Anyway, back to the rack and these effects. Just going to turn up pitch divisions. And this is arpeggiator working now, to give me different pitches as the notes come into arpeggiator. The speed rate is just the rate control on arpeggiator. And this is again going to break up the rhythm a bit and give me different rhythmic options. 1/12, 1/8. And again, I'm highlighting what the speed rate is actually doing here on arpeggiator, but normally that would be closed down. You wouldn't need to worry about that. You just work on these values here and listen to what it's doing. But here the speed rate as I go down in value is actually speeding up the arpeggiator effect. I'm going to keep it up kind of here somewhere. I like that flavour there. Let's add a bit of bit crush to this, or Redux as it's called in Ableton. If I turn up the gate, that's just affecting the decay of each note. And now I've got a percussion part which has kind of become a little bit more electronic, a little bit more interesting. I can just play with that in my track, get different patterns from the speed rate macro control. It's just pretty much infinite possibilities here. So they're just working with these parameters on the slice to MIDI rack, which is just affecting the different controls and all these different effects. Okay, you can learn loads of cool stuff like this at pointblankonline.net, and I'll be back once more again next week to show you some cool tricks with Live 8 and sounds and samples from clickproduce.com. Peace.